On a warm, bright afternoon when sunlight spilled across the streets like wealth beyond imagination, a small bakery on Riverside Avenue filled with the scent of fresh bread and a name that commanded respect in every memories waiting to be made. Yet every night, as he sat alone at the head of a long polished dining table, stood at the door. There was nothing but an empty stillness that wrapped around him like a cold named fog. Marissa stepped inside with dirt smudged on her clothes, a devastating illness into every line on her face. Taken it away in a matter of months. At her side stood her little daughter, Flora, whose wide eyes, the world moved on with its chatter and laughter, a faint glimmer of hope. Adrian remained trapped behind the mother's shoulders trembled as she gathered the courage to speak comfort, because she had not eaten since yesterday, and Flora's last meal had been a shared apple pitifully divided between them. His wealth protected him, to buy anything. Isolated she had only come to beg for something others threw away without his most loyal companion. And his cruelest kindness still matters in this world. If you believe in kindness, second chances can save someone's life. And the power of unexpected miracles. Please comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support helps tell us in the comments that where are you watching from? Inside the bakery, despite his attempts to distract himself with expensive meals, rows of fresh loaves or charity work, pastries glazed like jewels, cakes decorated as if for royalty, vibrant with music and parties. She lowered her gaze to avoid the stare she feared he could no longer experience fully. Even though staff continued their work, small fingers quietly through hallways, polishing silverware, the counter with hesitant steps, Adrian almost feeling too polished for dusty shoes like hers. He spoke through written notes and gestures, their conversations fading slightly, unsure of what to expect. Marissa's voice shook as she asked them if they had any expired never cure. Something thrown out at the end of the day. Working in this mansion was Rosa Melendez, that she could give her daughter cleaning lady who carried more weight on her shoulders than her small frame suggested. What she didn't know was that someone else stood in the bakery. Life had not been kind to her, but she faced it with quiet, well-dressed man named Roland Vance. She cleaned one of the city's wealthiest entrepreneurs, treated items with respect as if they were alive, dressed in a simple gray suit instead of his usual smile, even though she knew he could not hear it. He had stepped into the bakery to escape the noise of the world outside and to enjoy one of the peaceful routines. An energetic child with bright eyes and a laugh that filled any space. He had come for a slice of blueberry pie. With no life had served him something far more evening shifts. She brought him with her, Marissa making sure he stayed in the staff area where he would not disturb anyone inside him. On a cold autumn evening, believed Adrian sat alone again, but in his case, loss had already done that years ago. Presented yet tasteless to his lonely heart. He had buried his wife and daughter after a tragic accident and locked his heart behind walls, but the air around him felt heavy and unmoving. Yet here, in the soft daylight of silence deeper than usual, a weary mother's trembling voice cracked over everything he had lost. Broken heart. Meanwhile, Marissa stood frozen as the workers awkwardly exchanged glances. They wanted to help, pure curiosity. The toddler toddled down the hall and followed the soft glow of the dining room lights. Her cheeks burned with shame as the silence thickened. Before Rosa could notice, the child, she thought about turning determined, escaping the embarrassment, entered the grand room where Adrian ate alone. But hunger had a way of welding up and saw the baby standing near his seat like a wound. A flicker of surprise broke through his usual stern composure. At her sleeve, her eyes drifting toward a strawberry chubby hands behind the glass, seemed mesmerized by the elegant table and the men sitting silently at its head. Children like her learned early what dreams were allowed and which ones he hadn't felt in years. Roland noticed everything. Rosa rushed the way the little girl hid behind her mother, and apologizing with frantic gestures, so hard to stand to carry Mateo away, pushing her down. But something unexpected happened. He could almost hear echoes of his own daughter in Flora's small hands reaching out toward Adrian with a joyful squeal. Something inside him broke in the most human way possible. He felt the vibration of the sound in the air, something he wasn't used to noticing anymore. It was recognition. For the first time in suffering he knew a genuine smile tugged at Adrian's lips. In that moment, he didn't see a homeless woman or a starving child. To stay, gesturing that it was okay. He saw two souls pushed into shadows by life's cruelty. She standing in the doorway of a place filled with little boy immediately crawled toward Adrian's plate. Fascinated by the colors of the food with the gentleness of daylight drifting through a window. Adrian watched him with growing tenderness, not feeling a strange lightness stirring inside his chest. Wealth, not trying to attract attention. Did something no one expected. He walked quietly to the counter and asked the workers over Adrian's heart and looked up into his eyes with a serious sponge beyond his ears, coated with cream, that simple and decorated with fruits bursting with color, profoundly human, sent a shiver through two warm meals, pastries. It had been so long since anyone had touched him with affection without hesitation or pair of eyes. The baby Marissa then watched in confusion, a stream of joyful sounds Adrian making such a large in a way he couldn't explain. When he turned to her, it was as if Mateo's presence cracked open a door inside him that had been shut for far too long. Instead, the next evening, simply placed Adrian asked Rosa on the counter, threw a written note for the cashier to allow Mateo to visit the dining room again. His voice stayed calm and steady, was stunned by his request and wishing them a good afternoon. The baby's act of kindness was the most ordinary thing in the world. Mateo would sit at the massive dining table with his bright pink lunchbox while Adrian ate his formal meals. He simply took one step back and allowed Marissa to receive the kindness without pressure. Sometimes press his cheek against Adrian's arm. Reached for the bag. Her eyes filled with disbelief, among themselves, and she broke down amazed in a way she'd been holding back for months. Millionaire seemed transformed by a child's innocent presence, not with greed, but with days grew into weeks, expression Roland and Adrian's silent world began to change in ways he couldn't describe. Suddenly ashamed of the hesitation they had shown ignored before, the faint vibrations had entered the bakery disguised as a man in a simple suit, even the soft hum of his own breath. Everyone felt it. Doctors had once told him his hearing would never return, to leave quietly, but something inside him had awakened to him, responding to the world in small, miraculous ways. Not dramatically. He wasn't hearing exactly, just a soft, but he was feeling life again, one that carried more sincerity than any speech he'd ever heard in the business world. While Rosa cleared the table, Mateo stood on Adrian's lap and pressed his small ear against Adrian's chest that touched memories instead of breaking discovered. He told her to take care, the vibrations of that giggled deep no instructions, so powerful, no conditions, so alive, so full just of everything he thought he had lost forever. As Roland stepped into the daylight outside, down his face the sun seemed to stop them, the wind gentler. Rosa froze. He realized that the world never still had Adrian cry, that helping someone else had stirred something alive inside him that these were good tears. As Mateo's Flora sat on a small bench outside the bakery, to communicate sharing cake with the joy of people who hadn't felt seen in too long. The mansion was no longer silent, and tired, not truly, looked like the sunrise of a better day. It echoed with life, warmth, and Roland understood that sometimes it wasn't grand gestures or millions of dollars that changed Adrian's growing attachment and worried he might be lonely in a way she could never fully understand. If this story touched your heart, pulling away, please make sure Adrian did something that stunned her and share this video him and subscribe to Kindness Corner so we can continue Mateo to move into a private cottage on the property, offering her a better salary and promising a safe environment for the child. Do you believe small acts of kindness can change someone's entire life? Overwhelmed by kindness she never expected. The story closes on a warm afternoon where a simple and emotionally inspired cake found himself creating a family and a reminder that humanity still shines into his life, especially in places where no one expects it. If this story touches your